What is happening, people, and welcome everybody to our American football podcast in the End Zone UK. We are back, and we are back to recap week 11 of the NFL season. We apologize. We are sorry. We missed last week due to the fact that me and Dave were ridiculously busy with work. It is a hard life, but the In the End Zone team is back this week. As ever, I am your host, Dom. I'm coming to you from our In the End Zone headquarters. And across the mic from me, a change to the co-host position this week. The backup quarterback is in. We have called an audible at the line of scrimmage. It's not Big Dave this week. It's Big Cam. Big Cam, how is it going?
What's going on? I don't think I've ever been called Big Cam, but can't see it sticking. But hey ho, here we are.
Love that. Love that. I mean, it's usually Big Dave, so it had to be Big Cam. And we massively appreciate you stepping in last minute and taking the mic for the first time, listeners. The first time you're hearing Big Cam, and I know you've heard his name on the podcast already. Cam is a massive NFL fan. He's in the End Zone Fantasy League. He is a Packers fan for his sins, and so over the last few weeks we have given him some fair amount of shit, and it is time to get your own back, right, Cam?
Yeah, just wait. It's coming. It's coming.
So for those of you who are worried that you may never hear Big Dave's sultry tones again, fear not, as he will be back. But at the moment, he's stuck up in Scotland with the kind of internet or cell phone reception that you would get on a fishing boat in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. But he will be back. But for this week, you have Cam. And this week, Cam, we always talk fantasy first, and you've got plenty to talk about, have you not?
Yeah, I got a few bits and bobs. It's been a stressful time. It's not my favourite thing to do, but no, it was a positive end to the week, so we'll take it.
Yeah, so you won your fantasy league game, right?
I did. I won by, I think, 10 points. Tight. I think it was 4 points going into the last game.
Oof.
So waking up on that Tuesday morning, first thing you do, open the app, see if I won, sets your mood up for the day. So it was a good Tuesday.
That's nice. That's what we like to hear. I mean, I also won. Listeners are always wanting to know if I won fantasy, because it's what we talk about. And yes, listeners, I won again. I am now 10-2 in the End Zone Fantasy League. 10-2.
Even worse, I think that means you're qualified for playoffs. I think that's you guaranteed playoffs.
I do believe it is, Cam. Not to gloat, but I do believe no matter what happens, I'm in the top 4.
That's all right. You'll be one and done in the playoffs.
That's strong talk. What are you? What's your record? Are you in the playoffs at the moment, in the mix?
I am. I've just leapfrogged Dave into the final playoff position. There's 3 of us, or 4 of us, I believe, or 3 of us on the same 5 and 7. I believe, or 7 and 5, whichever way we're looking at it.
Yeah.
And Dave is 1 game behind. So I think there's 4 of us fighting for 3 spots, with 4 games left. It's getting tight.
Nice. No, that is tight. And yeah, Dave will not be happy. Leapfrogging him in fantasy, leapfrogging him in the End Zone podcast. Oof, Dave needs to get back on the mic real quick.
Yeah, the man's gone up to Scotland. It's fine. We can be jealous of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't mind being up in Scotland right now. It's a lovely place to be for sure. Bit of your heritage in there as well, right, Cam?
It is. Although he's in Glasgow, would rather Edinburgh, but we won't dive too deep into that.
We've got to be careful. Yeah, we might have some Scottish listeners, so we love all Scots. But we will start by just saying week 11. It started what feels like an age ago. The Thanksgiving games, trio of games leading into an interesting Sunday. But Thursday, Thanksgiving in America, always full of football. And we actually had 3 very good games, actually, for Thanksgiving. So for Thanksgiving, the Bills took on the Lions, the Giants took on the Cowboys, and the Patriots took on the Vikings. And they were all pretty entertaining games. I mean, the Bills narrowly beat the Lions 28-5. The Giants were, if I put it nicely, albeit I don't have to with Dave being off the mic today, the Giants got pumped by the Cowboys, and the Vikings just beat the Patriots 33-26. So I was happy on Thursday, not because of the wins and losses, just because there was some really good football played on those 3 days, right?
I think we needed those games. I don't know what it is, but 3 games on a Thursday night, it was a good, solid sit down and watch. I think starting off with that Bills-Lions game, I got to hand it to the Lions. They made it competitive. They made it close. I'll say I don't think the Bills played their best stuff. However, you didn't know which way it was going to go at the end, so good times.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was if it had just been one game, it would have been a little bit of a anticlimax. But Thanksgiving, America knows how to go big. They always make a spectacle of it. There was like a mini halftime show in the games, and yeah, it was pretty cool, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, it was tight. All games were pretty tight, apart from, as we said, the Giants, which was a bit of a spanking from the Cowboys. But they eventually kept it close because it finished 28-20. So,
and if I'm wrong, I think that was the most watched game is either on Thanksgiving or in the regular season ever.
Oh, was it
the one between the Cowboys and the Giants? Yeah, I think there was 48 million people watching it.
That's insane. That's nearly all of America.
No, that's nearly all of the UK.
Oh yeah, shit. Yeah, no, that's nearly all of the UK. Yeah, no, that's right. But that's insane. 48 million people watching a single game is absolutely nuts. If that is right, we'll have to fact check it later. But that is look at Cam dropping knowledge on the podcast immediately, just stepping in and knowing all the facts. I love that. But in relation to Thanksgiving, we are calling this podcast Giving All the Thanks, because later on, Cam, I'll be running a segment, and I want you, as well as myself, to list a few things that we are thankful for this year in the NFL.
Okay, I'll get my thinking cap on.
Indeed.
What am I thankful for?
But what we normally start with, and what we have to start with this week, is gloomy news. So before we get into the fun stuff, the fun segments, we have to just give the viewers and the listeners a bit of gloomy news every week, and that is generally surrounding injuries. So this week there were a few, and actually last week there were a few, and we never got to cover them. So in terms of players that are out and down for a significant period of time, we have to start with superstar young tight end Kyle Pitts is on IR at the Falcons. Not good for them.
No, it's such a shame. Like, he came into the league with such big expectations. He had a solid rookie year, but I think he was just sort of finding his feet in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we saw him out in Atlanta.
We did.
And yeah, I think he's going to be a big loss for them. Fingers crossed he can come back and have that year 2 leap into year 3 and really sort of set the league alight.
Establish himself as a top tight end, because I don't think he's quite done that yet. As much as the expectation was there, he's not had the opportunity, I think, is the issue with the Falcons. He's not had a solid quarterback thrown at him. He's not had surrounding players to take the pressure off. And this year, I mean, the Falcons could do with him, because in that NFC South, it's massively competitive still, even though they're all garbage. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think they are all under 500.
They are.
And yeah, but
so
they're in it. So
they're in it, even though it's a sad place to be. But Kyle Pitts is a big loss for them. Eddie Jackson and Darnell Mooney, both for the Bears. Big players in their positions for the Bears, actually. Probably their number 1 receiver and their number 1 safety, both done for the season. Yeah,
they've been beaten up the last couple of weeks, the Bears. Like, on top of that, you've obviously got the Justin Fields injury with his shoulder. They're losing pieces left, right, and centre. Obviously, add in the Roquan Smith trade. their stout defense is kind of crumbling around them. So
yeah, it's true. It is true. The Bears are in a world of pain right now, and they've not been playing fantastic football. Justin Fields has individually been amazing, but as a team goes, I think that they are now probably destined to get absolutely steamrolled for the remainder of the year. One, if Justin Fields can't play, and two, with Eddie Jackson, who is one of the better safeties in the league, out, and Darnell Mooney, who is by no means one of the best receivers in the league, but certainly one of the best receivers on their roster. They were already struggling. They're going to struggle further, I think.
I think if you're a Bears fan, the thing you take from this season is Justin Fields could be their guy moving forward.
Yeah.
I think he's sort of proven that
Yeah.
he is that guy. So all in, that's a win.
Now try and get some good picks.
Yeah, put pieces around him, but
yeah,
the guy's electric.
No, he is very, very good. And with these injuries, I think they won't be winning many more games. And so they'll have the opportunity to go out and get that receiver that they need, or maybe that protection that they might need for him, or a running back to shore him up, or a piece on defense. I don't know. They need everything really, the Bears, apart from a quarterback if he is the man. So we'll see what they've got. One of the bigger losses, I think, for a competitive team in the NFL at the moment, CJ Gardner-Johnson for the Eagles. He has been a fantastic safety. All the safeties going down this week, but he's been a fantastic safety. I think he suffered a lacerated spleen or kidney or something in this game.
Lacerated kidney.
Ouch.
The news is apparently he doesn't require surgery. They don't know how long he's going to be out for, but take some time, get him back, get him fit for the playoffs. I think that's where they need to be. Yeah,
it doesn't sound nice. A lacerated kidney
sounds nobody
painful.
Wants that.
Yeah, nobody does. And he's been really good this year. He must have 5-6 interceptions. I think this year.
Leads the league in interceptions.
Wow, CJ Gardner-Johnson doing bits. So yes, to your point, who cares about the regular season when they're already 9 or 10-1 now?
First 10-team win.
Yeah, get him healthy, get ready for the playoffs. And big Tristan Wirfs, offensive lineman for the rather underachieving Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is also out for maybe the season, but certainly a long period of time with a high ankle sprain. That is only going to compound the issues that they're having across the board. Yeah, he's been an absolute standout since entering the league. I worry a bit for Brady with him down. But, next man up mentality, see what happens. But no, big loss. Massive loss for a team that can't seem to get anything going on offense at the moment. Really, really struggling. Brady's head's not in the game. You can tell it's not. And the surrounding pieces, if the GOAT's not goating, then there's some big problems, I think. And then the last bit of info that I thought was interesting is not an injury, but it was a cut that came last week that we weren't able to talk about. It was Melvin Gordon was cut from the Broncos, their number one running back. They cut him straight out of the roster. He has suffered from fumbleitis and fumbled at least 9-10 times this season. But I mean, there was once upon a time that he played for the Chargers, and he was a phenomenal running back. Although I believe Mann has done very well and landed firmly on his feet. And yeah, I think he'll play a big part postseason, if I'm honest. But you reckon? So he's landed at the Chiefs, right? He's on their practice squad. He has, yeah. He's gone to their practice squad, which I think means he'll get elevated should things all go well. I think he could play a part postseason. Like you 100%. Said, a few seasons ago, he was that guy. I also think he was the guy that I had when I won the fantasy league, but less said about that, Oh, I see what you're doing there, Cam. Just dropping a little bit of a, yes, I am Cam. Yes, I have won the fantasy league once recently. So I've been in the Super Bowl every season, just saying. It means I've lost a hell of a lot of Super Bowls, but I've been there. Yes, you have. I mean, for the listeners, just listen to Cam. He knows his fantasy stuff. He's always in the mix, and maybe you should pay attention to everything he's got to say on this podcast. Listen intently. But you are right. I think Melvin Gordon could play a big part in the postseason, because as soon as he learns the playbook, and that's probably the only reason he's on the practice squad of the Chiefs at the minute, is just to get up to speed with the playbook, because Chiefs playbook is one of the more tricky ones to learn with Andy Reid and Brian Bieniemy's eclectic offense. He could play a big part, because they've got a good trio of running backs now in Pacheco, Gordon, and who's the guy that catches out the backfield for them all the time? Jerick McKinnon. So
and you've not mentioned Edwards-Helaire.
I think he's injured. I think
he is.
Yeah. So with Edwards-Helaire, there will probably be a 4-headed beast. Probably, they're all average to good running backs, but you could stick any one of them in there and they'd get you 100 yards in a game at some point. So
yeah, I mean, that's not the Chiefs game, is it?
No,
it's just something that accompanies it.
Indeed. So nice accompanying running backs to be getting on with, and that's all of our gloomy news this week. I think there was other injuries. We'll talk about maybe ones that are not necessarily massively affecting, aka Aaron Rodgers, but the gloomy injuries are done this week, and we move ourselves into our opening segment, Cam, and that will be a fan favorite. You need to get yourself ready. Warm your hands up for your first ever slap or sign. And with that, we go into the NFC. So, Cam, can you please give me your first NFC sign?
First NFC sign. Okay. I was torn between two men on this one. I want to take you all the way back to that first game on the Thursday night, the Bills versus the Lions.
Wow, okay.
And I'm actually going to sign Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Good sign.
I think the man this year he's turned up. I mean, it wasn't a blowout night or anything. It wasn't anything overly special. He just went in, done his job. 10 targets, 9 receptions, 122 yards and a touchdown.
It's very good.
But he's just been doing that nicely. So yeah, hats off to him. Absolutely fair play. I think he is exactly what the Packers thought they were signing when they signed his brother a couple of years back. He's now no longer with the Packers. It shows you how that went. But no, Amon-Ra St. Brown, really, I like him. I think he's quite exciting and lets the Lions build on something there.
Absolutely. No, it's a really good sign, and maybe one that people wouldn't have looked at. The Lions lost in this game, but he was probably the standout performer on the pitch for that game. He's clearly the number one receiver in Detroit. Established himself firmly as that. He's had a couple of niggling injuries this season. Otherwise, his stat line would probably be even better for the season. But he's putting up multiple catches, already broken the Lions record for receiving receptions in the first season, receptions into the second season. I think he's on pace to beat Megatron Calvin Johnson's receptions.
He is indeed,
yeah, in his first 2 seasons. And for anybody out there who's listening who knows how good Megatron is, that's a very good stat to overtake, and it's a very good Hall of Fame football player to be on par with. So Amon-Ra St. Brown doing all the things that the Browns need him to, that the Lions need him to do. Really good sign, Cam. Like it indeed. Now on the flip side, who are you going to slap from the NFC?
See, this I found difficult. This, out of all of them, I think was the most difficult decision. And it's one that we've spoken about it a few times. And I'm going to go with Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think it's on this week, because actually was one of our better weeks in what's been a pretty forgetful season. It's been building. The man has got weapons at his disposal, and we're just not calling the right plays. We don't bring enough pressure. We cannot stop the run to save your life. They rushed for 350 yards on us this week.
That's
and
savage.
It looked too easy. It was the easiest 350 yards ever. We just don't do anything to actually go, we're a defense, we're going to come for you. Where when you look at piece for piece, we should be quite a scary defense to face.
Absolutely.
And we are not.
No,
we
you
are
absolutely
not.
should.
So for me, it was I'll be honest, I've written down here the entire Packers organization. I thought that may have been a step too far.
Yeah.
It's not been great, but I would love to see a change of direction in that defensive coordinator position.
Yeah.
So I think it was more of a passionate one for me, but yeah, it's just not been good enough.
No, fair enough. I mean, look, we don't have you on the podcast often. This is your first time to let loose and talk about things that you're happy with and things that you're not happy with. But the Packers have got a fair amount of criticism from me and Dave over the last few seasons, and certainly this season for sure, because they've been underwhelming. But I think that's a really good call out, probably something that we wouldn't have picked up on, and that's that your defensive coordinator is making a right fluff of it, because you haven't been good on defense. You can't stop the run. Eagles are not the team to play if you can't stop the run, that's for sure. And they showed that by putting up 340 plus or whatever it was. And yeah, you've got the pieces to stop that run. You've got an all-pro linebacker from last year. You've got very good safeties. You've got a very good corner. You've got a stout offensive or defensive line in Preston Smith, and Rashawn Gary is injured at the minute, yes, but Kenny Clark, and they're very good. They're all above average players on defense in almost every position for the Packers, and you can't say that about many teams in the NFL.
No, and this year, more than any other in recent memory, we've needed to lean on our defense, and I don't think it's stepped up when it's been needed. So it's been a disappointing time. But
nice.
I think that change of leadership and play calling is not blaming the pieces. Obviously, the people on the field need to perform, but I think what we're trying to do is just wrong.
Yeah, agreed. Nice. And very humble of you to slap your own team as well, Cam. So I appreciate that. Let's move over to the AFC then, the American Football Conference, and let's go positive, and let's go with a sign from your AFC.
AFC sign. Now, there's one standout that could easily have been done. I've actually got 3 written down here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on, you've got to decide. Give us one.
I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence.
Nice. I do like that. Very good.
Trevor Lawrence, for his heroics on the last drive, he was 29 of 37, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions.
That's a good stat line.
Don't get me wrong, he fumbled twice and they did lose one of them. And he had that all-important 2-point conversion on the last play of the game. I think they drove it something like 90 yards down the field, scored the touchdown, got a 2-point conversion. And I think it's just nice to see that a player that came out of college with such high expectations finally putting some tape together that's actually showing what he can do. He did not have the season last year. We all know that. It wasn't pretty. But no, this year, treading in the right direction, new head coach, it's bringing out the best in him. And yeah, hats off to him for that final drive. It was impressive.
No,
against the Ravens defense that,
they're good.
Shouldn't be letting that up at all.
No, they're good. The Ravens defense is solid, you know, in every aspect, especially to throw against. And yeah, I can't disagree with you. Again, a bit of a surprising one, but one that you can't refute. The Jags won a very tight game against a Ravens team that really put it on them in the fourth quarter. And this was the first time that Trevor Lawrence did just put all of his attributes and potential together and execute it the way that you need to as a quarterback to win on a game-winning drive. Some stones to go for it for the 2-pointer from Doug Peterson as well by the Jags. I think that was a great move to try and win the game instead of taking it to overtime and pussyfoot around a potential loss and not give your team the opportunity. So he left it out there in the hands of his big lady-looking but undoubtedly talented quarterback.
There was another bit of history made with this. Was the first time since the rule has been introduced that two teams have won a game on a 2-point conversion.
No way.
So between the Jags and then the Chargers doing it against the Cardinals.
Nice.
Yeah, first time since the rule was introduced that's happened. So
love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, nice. So Trevor Lawrence gets the sign, which means who gets the slap? Yeah.
Ooh. Not a hard one. Not a hard one. It's a mixture for me between Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett, I'm sorry. He was with the Packers for the last 3 seasons as our offensive coordinator, working, and our offense in that time was doing some very nice bits.
It was very good.
The combination of him and Russ going to Denver, it's just not worked.
No, but you would expect big things. Yeah,
you would expect great things. Yeah, between Russ's ability that you saw in Seattle and Hackett's play calling that we saw at the Packers, but this is a team that can't buy a yard at the minute.
They look fucking awful. Is the truth?
Atrocious. Yeah, it's appalling.
Yeah,
and it must be so frustrating. Like, you saw the players starting to turn on Russ on the sidelines, which you never want to see, but
you
right
understand.
Now,
yeah,
you get it. Like, their defense at the minute is playing out of their minds. It's like the number 1, number 2 defense, whereas their offense is dead last.
Yeah, it's not even close either. They going into that week, they had the number 1 defense in the NFL and the 32nd, which is last offense, not only in the NFL for this year, but at the moment they're tracking on pace with the 2000 Browns. Yes, we have to go back 22 years to the 2000 Browns, who scored less than 14 points per game. I think was the worst in NFL history across a season, and the Broncos are on par to either match it or be worse at the moment.
I saw something. Yes, they're on par to get 13 touchdowns.
That's awful.
Because it is they're on par to score less touchdowns than Russ has toilets in his house.
That is preposterous. And I mean, so I'll allow the slap to both of them because they can come as a pair.
It's a combination.
It's a combo slap, and that's absolutely fine. And I think that for me, it's a hard one to witness because Russ was my quarterback for, 12, 11 years in Seattle. And I loved him, obviously. Thought the sun shone out of his arse. He won me and all of Seattle a Super Bowl, got us there the following year, not on his own, evidently. But he was that guy in Seattle, and we let him go. And it's just been downhill from it was downhill in the off season. He did some weird ass commercials and some really weird PR, and then never really looked like he was focused on football. And it really kind of shows on the pitch, and mix that with Nathaniel can't hack it, and we got problems.
So, I mean, from a Seahawks fan, now, when you look back at it, do you go, Russ was that good in Seattle? because he never really had the offense around him. Like, don't get me wrong, Doug Baldwin was class for you.
Amazing.
But looking at the receivers that you've got now, were they making him look good the last couple of seasons? Like, Lockett comes down with everything.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think that he schematically worked well in Seattle, and I think that was a mixture of his talent versus the play calling versus what they asked him to do. And yes, a proportion of that would have been the players that surrounded him, right? I think probably as coaches, they know what works for a player, and so they drafted or signed players accordingly. You know, like Russ was always that sort of, we ran the ball, set the play action up, drop big bombs into the hands of people like DK or somebody like Tyler Lockett who can catch everything, you know, twinkle tiptoes on the sideline, whilst also running clean routes and being able to scramble and make moves when Russ is in trouble, because he gets himself in a lot of trouble by trying to make a play. And I just don't think it's clicking in the Broncos world yet. I still think I can't physically see how you can go from Russell Wilson being undisputedly a Hall of Famer if he'd have doubled his career in Seattle, you know, for another 5 years or 10 years or something like that. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. No question. Potentially one of the best quarterbacks of all time. If you now transfer that mindset and skill set into how he's performing at the Broncos, it just doesn't make sense. So there's something's not right, and I don't know whether it's coaching mixed with surrounding players, but it's a really good question.
They've got themselves in a hole, haven't they? Like financially,
Financially,
they cannot move on from him for a long time. So the only way out of it will go in a different direction with the coaching staff.
Exactly.
So they've already said the writing's on the wall for Nathaniel Hackett. I don't know if he even makes it out of the week. So yeah, I think we will see a change there imminently.
I hope so, for Russ's sake. Like, I particularly wanted to see the Broncos do badly this year because we've got their pick. That's the only reason why I've been hating on the Broncos, because the Seahawks, the worse the Broncos do, the better the Seahawks do. But I don't really wish a bad time on Russ, but he's playing horrendously right now. So it is what it is. Nice. Okay, Camo, that was your slap or sign. First one ever. Thanks for that. And we will now go into mine, I guess.
We will. So let's start NFC and let's start positive. Who are you signing from the NFC?
So from the NFC this week, I'm also rolling back to Thanksgiving, and I am going to sign Micah Parsons.
Yeah, shout.
Yeah, he's a Cowboy, so I don't like doing it. But at the same time, this guy just seems unstoppable. And I don't want to say that the Giants have got a great offensive line, because they definitely haven't had in recent years. But this year, it's been a lot more solid. But even Micah Parsons terrorized Andrew Thomas, who is I think he's the number one graded left tackle in the league at the moment, actually. Or he was for a proportion of this season. And no matter what you do about Micah Parsons, he finds a way to interrupt the game, whether he's pass rushing and terrorizing your quarterback, whether he's chasing down a running back and punching the ball out, whether he's just absolutely everywhere on the field or dropping into coverage. He's an absolute phenom, phenomenal player. Probably at the moment operating at one of, if not the defensive player of the year. He had 2 sacks in this game. He's had multiple games with multiple sacks this year already. He's only in his second year. And I just think that he's probably making every team that didn't pick him in the draft prior to him being taken question their choice.
Yeah, no, he's an absolute stud. The man, it's how they use him as well. They line him up all over the place. And as much as his sacks, it's his QB pressures. He's in that man's face 10 times a game. And that alone creates havoc, because QBs just don't know what to do. yeah, he is a problem for anyone he comes against at the minute. So fair play to the guy. Don't like him, but fair play.
That's how I feel. He's an absolute specimen. He's wearing clothes that are covered in turds or stars, whichever the Cowboys want to call them. But he is undoubtedly, and we're never biased on this podcast, or we try not to be, he's undoubtedly an amazing player. And just credit where credit's due.
He leads that defense, and it's a very good defense.
It is. It's a good defense, but it's got considerably better since he's been a part of it.
Yep.
So Micah Parsons,
great,
there you go.
Great. Can't argue with that at all. So you've been positive. Now who you giving a slap to?
This was a tricky one. I wanted to slap somebody. I actually wanted to slap Mike Evans because I think he's been woeful, but I've gone for a more strategic slap. I'm slapping Cliff Kingsbury, head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah,
and the guy has to be like on his last legs at the Cardinals at the moment. They are 4-8 at the minute. They have lost 8 games. They lost to the Chargers, as you said, with a nice little sneaky game winner at the end of this one. And it was just, I just don't think that he's fit for the NFL anymore. I think when he came into the league, he had this newfangled college offensive scheme that was going to tear people apart. He was going to go, wide receiver heavy, drop 5 wide, never play any running backs. He signed
Kyler is their running back, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You've got a quarterback who is your running back. And I just can't see how that's then going to relate and translate into wins anymore. At first, I thought it might. I thought, okay, they go out there, they make a big splash for DeAndre Hopkins. They go out there, they get AJ Green. They've got Hollywood Brown. They drafted Rondell Moore. You look at the players that they've got on this offense; they're amazing. They've got Zach Ertz at tight end, albeit that he's now injured. But that is a receiving core and a half, like speed, route running, catchability, if that's even a word. But they're just not making it work, and they're having to now pound the rock, rely on their running backs, rely on Kyler scrambling all over the place, and it's just not working. And he's doing absolutely sweet wind on defense. He's lucky that he's got individual pieces that can make game-winning plays like JJ Watt and Budda Baker and Isaiah Simmons, who's a freak of nature in a good way. But outside that, their team is, I think it's just got no identity.
No, I hear you. Like, obviously, they brought him in at the same time as bringing Kyler in because they worked together before, so they thought they were going to be onto something. And don't get me wrong, for the first 2 seasons, for large proportions of the seasons, it worked. Don't get me wrong, at the minute they are banged up or juiced up in Hopkins' case, whichever way you want to look at it.
Nice.
They're getting healthy again now, but no, this season just looks like it's going all in the wrong direction. I saw something the other day that Kyler came out and said, yeah, we don't have a clue what we're doing on offense.
Yeah, he actually said schematically we're fucked.
Yeah. So when that's your guy, your quarterback that you've just paid big bucks to.
It's not good.
No, the man's gone. I'm sorry. He's not seeing out next season.
I hope not. But I kind of hope so, because I don't want the Cardinals to do well in my division. But in the world of football, I hope not. So that's my slap for the NFC.
Yeah, no, good slap. Okay. So the ever impressive AFC, who are you signing from that domain?
This one pains me. It pains me so bad.
Go on, say it.
I don't like to do it, but he caused me rage this week, like unadulterated, utter rage. But I have to give it to him. Josh Jacobs for the Vegas Raiders single-handedly put up over 300 yards of scrimmage. He decimated the Seahawks defense. The man was unstoppable, unguardable, untacklable, uncatchable. He just was like a bowling ball constantly through our offense, just carving us up. It was so frustrating to watch. I was just seething, just so fucking angry, just watching him go for play after play. I was thinking, how many times can you give the ball to this man? He went into the game questionable with a calf injury, and then all of a sudden became fucking, I don't even know, like the Flash mixed with the Thing, and tore the living life out of the Seahawks, just destroyed us. And fair play to the guy. He won the game. He won it in overtime. Big run. You've got him in fantasy, Cam, which I was so happy that I wasn't playing you in fantasy, because if I'd have lost as the Seahawks lost, but lost because of that man in fantasy, I think I'd have found somewhere to put your mobile phone, and it wouldn't have been enjoyable.
Questionable. Now, obviously, I was on the other end of this, and I thought, I was watching it, and it was the very last play in overtime. What was it, an 80-yard touchdown?
85.
85, yes. And the man did win me my fantasy. He got 50+ points in fantasy. Not that I'm going to gloat, but he impressive. Fair play to him. Like,
Very.
I was questionable on him at times this season. That's fair to say. But he's done that. He's in some games, he's been their entire offense, which when you're talking about an offense with Devontae Adams in it, hats off. Like,
big time.
I cannot sit here and think of any other 300-yard game.
No, I'd imagine there's been one or two.
I'm sure there has, but thinking off the top of my head,
me neither.
No,
that's a hell of a lot of yards and a hell of a lot of carries. So and he did it to the Seahawks, and the Seahawks always seem to be, I don't know whether it's because I'm closer to it or not, but they always seem to be that team that gets dunked on by like a big player. Like Derrick Henry went for millions of yards on us last season, and I don't know whether it just happens.
Some teams can run on you, that's for sure. But no, I think this is one of the ones where you just got to take a step back and go, man smashed it.
Yeah, he smashed it. Totally. Smashed the Seahawks.
He did put like a big cherry on the cake with that last run. You take that touchdown away plus 85 yards away, it's still a great day. But
for sure. So well done, Josh Jacobs. You pissed me off, but you won your game, and you did come a solid in fantasy.
Which is more what's it about. So, okay, that was your sign, but you don't seem happy about it. So who are you giving a slap to?
Yeah, this slap goes, and I've not done this season yet, but this slap goes to an entire team because they are absolutely dog shit. I'm slapping the Texans. I'm slapping the Houston Texans, and I feel like they always get away without a slap, and they get away without criticism because everybody knows that they're not very good and they haven't got many players that are of any worth. But this year, the Texans have been god awful. They have been horrific. They've been smashed to smithereens in most games that they've played. And what bothers me is that I did have some Texans players in my fantasy, and I'm not slapping them for this reason because it is what it is. But every time you seem to switch on to the red zone, they're never on offense, ever. Like, just categorically never on offense. They're just being dunked on by whoever they're playing. The Dolphins were up so heavy in the first half of this game that they just took Tua out. They took him out and were just like, nah, we've won this. 30 points in the first half to the Texans 0. Ridiculous. They are 1-9-1, Cam. They've won one game. They've drawn one game. They've lost 9. And most of those games have not been close. They kept a few games at the start of the season competitive. And now it just feels like an old dog that's just rolled over to die and just quiver there until it's been put out of its misery. And that is the Texans to me. They need to be put out of their misery. They are awful. They're in a quarterback turmoil. They're in a wide receiver turmoil. They're in an offensive line turmoil. They're in a defensive turmoil. They have got no identity whatsoever. They're going to waste the career of Dameon Pierce. They've already wasted the twilight years of Brandon Cooks. That's it. They've not got anybody else. They've got a couple of good rookies that they're also going to waste the careers of. It's depressing.
Yeah, no, I think the Texans' issues started a number of years ago. I think they're trying to recover from decisions that old front of house staff have made. Well, for instance, booting out DeAndre Hopkins for literally next to nothing. Okay, they've got some picks to come from the Deshaun Watson trade. But looking back on their draft this year, it doesn't excite me. Like, they weren't one of the teams that you come look at it and go, they've got a good draft class. They've done well.
No,
don't wrong. I think they've got one or two, but I mean, they even passed on Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, which
was questionable at the time and has proven
more so
bad choice.
Yeah.
Interesting one with them to come. Obviously, looking forward to next week. You've got the return of Deshaun Watson in his first game back from suspension, playing the Texans.
I think they'll be up for that. I think that'll be the one game that they'll probably be up for.
Yeah, totally. But I don't think they're good enough to be up for it. That's the problem.
No, they'll get destroyed.
They are a team that needs that number 1 pick and to hit with it. So
they do.
Good luck to them. But no, I don't think they're there right now.
No, they're not there right now, and it's going to take a lot for them to get there. They are a very bad team, and so the entire Texans team gets a slap. They will probably finish with the number 1 pick in the NFL this year. So
I hope so. They need it because other teams that have been historically poor are making those steps. They're making those strides. The Texans just seem to be,
not.
No, sadly.
Yeah, no, for sure. And with that is the end of Slap or Sign. So first Slap or Sign over, Cam. How did it feel?
Good.
Sweet.
Stressful. Yeah.
Stressful. Love that. Okay, so real quick recap on the games last week. We obviously had the 3 games that were on the Thursday night Thanksgiving that we've spoken about. Giants lost to the Cowboys. Lions lost to the Bills. Vikings beat the Patriots. We then moved into Sunday, and that started with, I have to be honest, because we're only ever honest, it was a bit of a boring start to Sunday night. It definitely got a lot better, but it was a bit of a boring slate of games.
Yeah, it was not ideal, that's for sure.
Not fantastic. Didn't want to keep you awake for the 7 hours of uninterrupted football that Scott Hansen takes us through every week, but it did get better. Some of those games got very close. The Browns, that were 3-6 at the time, ended up 3-7 at the time, ended up beating the Buccaneers, the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers, who were operating on 0 cylinders that day, were beaten by a Browns team that were up for it. Couple of sacks for Myles Garrett, some big catches for Amari Cooper, Nick Chubb, who is your boy, Cam. You love Nick
I
Chubb.
do love Nick Chubb. He is, if any of you out there on fantasy next year, just go get that man.
Yeah.
He is guaranteed points. So, yeah.
Go get him. That's for sure. And he got points this week again, smashing over 100 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. You know, he just keeps that offense running. And with somebody like him who is a power runner, you have to account for, it just opens up the offense. So
yeah, of course, he gets
big win.
better as game goes along. Like that fourth quarter for him tends to be a good one. So
all the best running backs tend to do that, don't they? They just push it down.
Higher on teams.
Yeah. Push it down your throat on the final quarter. So the Browns won 23-17 to the Bucs. The Bucs are now
overtime.
Yeah, in overtime, correct. Yeah, that was it was interesting that it went there, but they
overtime done me well this week.
Yeah, they got a touchdown, didn't they? So 4-7 to the Browns, 5-6 to the Buccaneers. The Bengals played the Titans. This was a rematch of the AFC sort of AFC. It was the AFC
divisional.
Not the championship, but it was a divisional game, wasn't it, in the playoffs last year? Titans were the number 1 seed. Bengals came in and beat them. The Bengals did exactly the same this week. Came in and beat the Titans, who are a difficult team to beat. The Titans, they're 7-4 at the moment. They've played many teams very tightly. And
that's their game, though.
Yeah, they keep it tight and they let Derrick Henry take over. But what I would say is that the Bengals, they didn't start very well this season, but if you think at the moment they're still winning games and they don't have Jamar Chase and they've not had
Joe
a
Mixon.
healthy Joe Mixon, if they get those pieces back, they could well be in the mix. They won 20-16.
It's all about playing your best football come December and January, isn't it? That's the thing. Yeah. So they're putting themselves in a position to do that, but no, I mean, they didn't excite me at all this week. They missed that explosive ability from Jamar Chase.
They did, but they got the dub, and that's all that matters.
All that matters.
The Dolphins hammered the Texans, that we've already spoke about, so need no more, but that finished 30-15. The Dolphins go to 8-3, bit of a powerhouse in the AFC as well. Could be a top.
One of the more intriguing teams in the AFC, I'd say.
Definitely. They're a team to beat for sure. They're playoff bound, and that's undoubted. Another team that is a team to beat in the AFC, the Jets, put a hurting on the Bears. They beat them 31-10 with a new quarterback in the helm. Mr. Mike White at the Jets is now becoming a local hero down at MetLife. And we've both been to MetLife before, haven't we, Cam? It's a great stadium.
We have done MetLife, yeah.
Great stadium, and I'd imagine the Jets fans will all be...
Mike White, fair play to him.
Yeah. Jets, Jets. They've got something to get excited about, and he played far better than I think I've ever seen Zach Wilson play. 315 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm not sure Zach Wilson's done that yet. He was 22 of 28 passing. It's not bad at all from Mike White. The Jets defense is also very good. Held the Bears to 10 points. Really, really nice.
I think that's a team for me that needs to be defense first.
Yeah.
Mike White, well done. You had a week.
Do it again.
I don't see him doing it consistently. And I think the Zach Wilson thing is difficult. Is he their guy? I don't know. Give him one more season for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's generous, I think. I don't think he's the guy. I'd be moving away. But you never know. You never know. The Falcons took on the Commanders. They kept this one really tight. Nearly had the opportunity to win this one, but the Commanders did some good stuff just to keep the Falcons at bay. They won this one 19-13, and the Commanders camp have gone to 7-5. That's their record.
I'm in on it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. You like the Wind Sox?
Fair play, Taylor Heineke. Keep out Wentz, because I think Heineke's the better quarterback.
Yeah, he is.
Again, that front seven, bring back in Chase Young. That's scary.
Mm-hmm.
That defense can keep them in it against anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So Terry McLaurin has started to do a few more bits recently.
Mm-hmm.
He's a standout wide receiver, but yeah, I'm quite enjoying the Commanders
wins.
Which did never imagine myself saying that at the start of the season.
No, very, very part of a very strong NFC East. So they won 19-13. We've spoken about the next game, the Broncos getting dunked on by the Panthers. This was just awful from Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett. They both got the slap off cam, so we need not talk about that. But the Panthers are at least making some headway, but they're 4-8. The Broncos are 3-8. Both garbage teams, not worth talking about. Jags and Ravens, we've spoken about this big win in just before overtime for Trevor Lawrence as Cam made his sign through this week with Trevor Lawrence, and he had a great game, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Ravens also played, I don't want to say very well, but
No, I don't want to say very well. I was slating them throughout that game.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson's my quarterback in fantasy, and
not good.
He's just not got the pieces around him, I think. And they're turning into a very run-heavy team, which isn't doing me any favours. But, do you know, hey, what was it? They're still 7 wins there.
They're still in the mix for the playoffs,
Certainly.
for sure. 7-4. Jags go to 4-7. Chargers beat the Cardinals. Again, we covered this one. Cardinals don't look like they've got any identity. Chargers, one thing that I noticed about this game, Austin Eckler gets a shit load of touches.
Because he does stuff with it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why, but they just go and go and go and go and go to Austin Eckler. If you are in a PPR fantasy league, which is like points per reception, you pick that man every day of the week with your number 1 pick because he carries the ball, catches. He's got the highest target rate of their entire team. It's ridiculous, but they got the job done. Well done, Chargers, keeping it competitive in their division 2, 6-5. Cardinals 4-8.
Herbert made some nice throws.
He did. He looked better this week. Dave says he's massively overrated, and I have to agree that from what I've seen this season,
I like him. I'm a big Herbert fan. That's not a good season at all. No, I think he needs some better wide receiver options. But no, I like him. He's a gunslinger, and he'll live or die by tossing it up. So
that's true. I was going to say 700 yards, 274 yards and 3 touchdowns this week. So he had a good week for sure. The Rams got pumped by the Chiefs. Well, maybe not pumped. Maybe that's a bit too strong.
Their defense kept them in it. Their offense, woeful.
Yeah. So they did lose 26-10. That is
garbage time points.
Yeah, some garbage time points in there. But the thing about this one was Mahomes was held to 320 yards. You know, that's still good for Mahomes. Yeah. But the main thing was about Travis Kelce just tearing up Jalen Ramsey.
I mean, Jalen Ramsey ran around like a headless chicken. He's what they say, one of the top corners in the league.
One of the top 3.
The man gets burnt.
Yeah, and Kelce turned him inside out.
Burnt, yeah. He picks these one-on-one battles and goes for the big player.
And gets destroyed.
Come off well. Yeah, it does not come off well. So you might want to just stop doing that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It is funny when those receivers just absolutely take his name badge, though, isn't it? Because
those receivers, Kelce, it's not like he's a quick, fast, nippy, agile. The man's a big dude.
Yeah, but he plays smart.
He literally ran himself into space.
If anybody's out there and they didn't see it, just watch the Travis Kelce 39-yard touchdown in that game. And he had, not only did he have Jalen Ramsey all over the gaff, searching for his fucking Uber car somewhere on the pitch, but he also then broke the tackle to get into the end zone when he ended up catching up with him. It was a proper, just a proper know your role moment, a proper jabroni moment for Jalen Ramsey.
Kelce, fair play. Like,
he's amazing, phenomenal.
Yep, don't like to admit it, but yeah.
Yeah. For people out there who don't know, Cam's not a huge Chiefs fan. Probably because I like them so much, but
no, that's exactly it. Like you bum off the Chiefs and it just annoys me. So we don't like the Chiefs.
Yeah. But as I said, credit where credit's due. He is an all-time great at the position. The San Francisco...
That's the argument right now, isn't it? They're trying to say he is now Is he the number one tight end ever?
He's
in the conversation.
He's 100% in the conversation. And I think if he has one more season like this, you have to say he's probably that guy.
I think the man needs another ring. If he gets another ring for me, I think, it's
done deal.
It's just done on opinions, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I'd have to agree. Saints game finished 0 to the Saints, 13 to the Niners. This was a heavily defensive game, but the Niners defense just shut the Saints down. 4 games in a row that the Niners have not conceded a single point after halftime. Absolutely mental. Clearly well coached. Clearly a team of pure animals. The Saints aren't a good team at the moment anyway, but nevertheless, to shut a team out in the NFL is always difficult, and that's what they did. 13-0 for the Niners. The Packers then played the Eagles. Cam's told us all about the Packers getting ran on by the Eagles this week. The Eagles beat the Packers 40-33. To give some credit to the Packers, that's about as many points as they've put up all season on a defense that's very, very good. So if they can tie these two things together. It was one of our
better performances on offense.
Yeah.
To start with anyway.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I enjoyed about this, not seeing Rodgers get hurt, not seeing Rodgers go off injured, because obviously he is that good. But where our season's at right now, I am quite glad to see Love get some time. We've had that conversation a few times about put him in. We don't know if he's going to be anything.
Yeah, give him a go.
Yeah, and obviously on the first, he put up 10 points on that first drive. He had a 65-yard touchdown to Christian Watson, which I've slated that man enough times this season as well. Nice to see him have a run of games where actually he's making some catches. There's still some drops. There's still some drops in there.
But he's doing well. He's had more touchdowns than some top flight receivers this year, you know?
Yeah,
so,
of course. And exciting times ahead for him at that position. Man has got speed. So
for sure.
We go again.
No, for sure. So yeah, Eagles got the win. They go to 10-1, Packers 4-8. The Steelers played the Colts on Monday Night Football last night. Woke up and watched this one dead early. Steelers did well to get a win against the Colts. They kept it competitive, but the Steelers just were the better team at the end of the day. The Colts did look pretty woeful on offense. Matt Ryan needs to hang his boots up. He comes back, has a good game, but he has one good game in like 4, and it's not happening for the Colts. They've got a lot of injuries. Steelers didn't look fantastic, but they've got a few injuries. This was just an average, proper Bob average game of football. The Steelers go to 4-7. The Colts go to 4-7-1. Yeah, really not a lot to talk about in that one. And then finally was the Seahawks game for me to just talk about really quickly. We lost 40. That's 40 points to the Raiders, 34 to the Seahawks. And at the start of the season, I did say that I thought we'd be in these types of games, Cam. This wasn't necessarily a slinging match because Josh Jacobs ran all over us, but it was a bit of a back and forth, tete-a-tete. You score, we score, you score, we score. And it just seemed like the team that had the ball last were going to win. And that's what happened in overtime. You know, the Raiders won the toss and they put us to bed.
Game could have gone either way.
Yeah,
it could have done. And I think for where your season's at compared to where you thought it'd have been at the start of the season, a loss is not the end of the world.
No, I'll take it.
Yeah. Still, yeah, wasn't your best game, but you move on, you go again. Whatever.
Yeah, there were some positives to take from it. Like Geno Smith didn't have a bad game. He threw definitely a very bad pick, but he also threw some beautiful balls to Tyler Lockett, to DK.
He had to throw it a lot. Your run game wasn't where it needed to be.
Yeah. So there are some positives in that, but when you're going against the likes of Max Crosby, who is one of the elite in the NFL at the moment in terms of pass rush, he caused us big problems against our rookie right tackle. But Kenneth Walker had 2 touchdowns. Tyler had a touchdown. DK had about 12 receptions. You know, we're doing some of the right things. We just need to tie them all together. And I think that for me, is all I wanted at the end of this season. You know, when I came into this season, I just thought all I want to see is progression. I want to see us be able to build on something that we currently have. And that's exactly what we've got this year. And we're actually doing better than I thought. So yeah, it was just this was the loss that hurt the most this year so far. Out of all of them, this one hurt the most because I felt like we had it in us to win. And I don't think the Raiders are actually that good a team, but
not their record shows that they're not.
Josh Jacobs is apparently that good a player. And that's the recap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confused about where the Seahawks are at, if I'm honest, because going into the season, you knew you weren't going to be good. Turns out, actually, you've done better than you thought. Where do you go? Like, where do you go from here? Is Geno that guy? What do you draft? Yeah, it's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and it all depends on where things actually end up at the end of the season. Yeah, because we could actually have, if the Broncos continue to stink, we could actually have a very good pick. And I think with a very good pick, you should probably take the best players available. And if one of those is a quarterback, we should take one. Sitting behind Geno, let him learn, see what happens. I'd be very happy with that, and then use the other one for a, best player available pick down the line.
Is it positional? Yeah. Fair.
So yeah, recap over, done and dusted. And so we move into our final segment, which is, what are you thankful for? So Cam, Thanksgiving is done, but we didn't have an opportunity to cover it because it was on Thursday. So this segment is called I Am Thankful. And I want you to tell me one thing that you are thankful for in the world of NFL.
In the world of NFL, what am I thankful for? One man and one man only. And that is Mr. Scott Hanson and his genius idea of the red zone that has just taken off like no other.
Amazing.
Like, say, those Sunday nights, 6 p.m., you just wait to hear those words. And literally hairs stand on end. And I'll be honest, I don't ever make it through to all the way through red zone.
You like a nap, don't you?
It does happen. But yeah, gotta love my NFL Sundays.
No, I love that. And that's a great call out. Being thankful for the NFL red zone is an understatement. That shit keeps me going no matter what. It's something that you can just hunker down with a nice beer, some food, and for 7 hours, you can just watch football, and it's never boring.
No, it's good times. But what are you thankful for in the world of NFL?
Okay, this year, I'm thankful for the Russell Wilson trade.
It's working in your favor, that's for sure.
I never thought I'd say it, and I didn't think I'd say it at the start of the year, but I am thankful for that Russell Wilson trade, because that Russell Wilson trade has, number one, allowed Russ to go somewhere else and show that he may not have been the guy for the remainder of his contract in NFL in Seattle. But what we got from Russell Wilson was the 9th pick, which we used for Charles Cross, the 41st pick that we used for Kenneth Walker, the 153rd pick that we used for Tariq Woolen. We got Noah Fant. We got Shelby Harris, who both start for us at the moment. And next year, we've got their first 2023rd and their second 2023rd. And Drew Lock, if you want to add that to it. That's what we got for Russell Wilson. I think that is phenomenal.
Well, yeah, they are. They're talking about your draft class being one of the best draft classes since that one you had back with Russ and sort of the Legion of Boom era. So yeah, fair play. It's working. And it's always nice to see that Russ is the franchise guy. He's that guy. He's that franchise. It's nice to see that you can move on and still do well. It gives me hope that the day when Rodgers scarcely leaves us, that actually we can find that replacement. So it's not all in one guy's hands. It's a team first mentality, right? So
Exactly. And that's the only way that the Seahawks were going to come out of that situation in a positive place, and that's what we've kind of managed to do. So I'm thankful for the Russell Wilson trade. Do you have another thing that you're thankful for?
in the End Zone podcast listeners,
Hey,
no, just the NFL in general. It's a nice break, isn't it? It's a good release for us.
nice.
So no, all good, and just thankful to get myself on here. I'm sure I can do a few more step-ins at any point.
Absolutely. No, that's perfect. And that leads into my final thank and what I'm thankful for. And that is for the In the End Zone UK podcast and its fans and listeners. It's very cheesy. Cue cheesy music from our super producer, or loving music, whatever you want to call it, from our super producer, Chris, who is also my brother. But yeah, I'm thankful for the podcast because it is a great medium to talk to, obviously, Dave so far, yourself, Cam, chat to friends, hopefully in the near future, be able to get a few more guests on, but really just to engage in the world of football. You know, Instagram, we get a lot of conversation through there. Fans, whenever you want to, reach out to us, ask us some questions, talk to us. It's nice to see and hear. But we're thankful for all that, and that segues us nicely till the end of the episode, and we're going to leave it there. So, fans, listeners, we're thankful for you. Please follow us at In the End Zone UK. Go on Instagram, share it with your friends, share it with football fans. This has been the episode giving all the thanks. Cam, thanks for stepping in. Much appreciated, and we'll have you back on very soon. And until then, take it easy.
Peace out.